My name is Abdelrahman Ayyash, and the Muslim Brotherhood has intrigued me for as long as I can remember. In fact, my connection to the Brotherhood began before I was even born. My grandfather was a school teacher in his early 20s when he joined the group, a few years after it was founded by Hassan al-Banna, another school teacher in his early 20s. When I was 4 years old, I attended my first meeting, a play date with several neighborhood boys in a mosque near our home in Mansoura, a Nile Delta city 120 kilometers north of Cairo. For more than 16 years, I attended countless lectures, fishing and camping trips, movie nights, protests, and political events with the group's members and leaders. During much of this time, I was unaware that the people I was meeting with were members of a political movement with hundreds of thousands of members in Egypt and around the world. Although I attended my last weekly Usra meeting, which literally means a family meeting, in December 2010, the Muslim Brotherhood still occupies a considerable chunk of my personal interest, as well as my professional interest as a journalist and a researcher.
You're listening to Order from Ashes. I'm Thanasi Kambanis, and this is a special season of our podcast called Broken Bonds, the existential crisis of Egypt's Muslim Brotherhood from 2013 to 2022. You were just listening to Abdelrahman Ayyash, the lead author of a new book about the Muslim Brotherhood, recounting his early childhood as a member of the Muslim Brotherhood community. Today, we're going to be talking on Order from Ashes about Abdelrahman Ayyash's journey from a young man in Mansoura, Egypt, to a researcher who specializes, among other things, in the Muslim Brotherhood. And this episode is going to kick off a 5-part series that's going to delve deep into what's become of Egypt's Muslim Brotherhood, the crises the organization faces, and the implications of that crisis for the Muslim Brotherhood, for Egypt, and for our understanding of transnational movements inspired by the Brotherhood and the entire framework of counterterrorism and extremism studies that's misled a lot of people's understandings about the Brotherhood. Ayyash, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
So in that passage you read from us to us at the beginning of this episode, you were sharing a little bit of what it was like to come of age in a bourgeois family in the Brotherhood's circle. Tell us a little bit, because I think for most of our listeners have no idea what that community is like, what it means to grow up in the Muslim Brotherhood, and it's such a such a fraught label that has a lot of people bring stereotypes and assumptions to it, but very few people have any sort of granular idea of what that means. So tell us just what's a Brotherhood childhood like in or what was a Brotherhood childhood like for you in Mansoura, Egypt, in the years when you were growing up?
Well, Fanasi, I think it wasn't much different from most of the Egyptian kids at the time. I mean, the Muslim Brotherhood, yes, it's a community within the Egyptian community, but it's a community that is cutting through the Egyptian society from up to down. I mean,
meaning poor members all the way up to rich members and middle class and so on.
Exactly. And from everywhere in Egypt. And growing up as a Muslim Brotherhood member or in a Muslim Brotherhood community, in many ways was not different from growing up as a conservative Muslim kid in Egypt. I mean, I was memorizing Quran when I was 4 or 5 years old in a mosque. It was full of other kids of my neighborhood or in my neighborhood. Most of them were never Muslim Brotherhood members, but the teachers or the Quran scholars in this mosque, yeah, most of them were Brotherhood members, and in many other ways. It doesn't make, or it's not different from being a normal kid, if I may say, but the main difference between this community of the Muslim Brotherhood is that you feel that you belong to a closer circle or maybe a safe circle of people that provides you with services and benefits that other kids do not seem to have access to that much. I'm talking about, for example, when I grew up in Mansoura in 1993, 1994, 1995, around this time, I come from
you come from a middle class family, right? With
yeah, exactly. I come from a middle class family, and around me, most of the kids, yeah, we could go to a park. But to have fishing trips, to have camping trips, and to participate in the Boy Scout, for example. All of this actually it wasn't easy for a kid in a school, for example, to go independently or to go to independently on their own. Actually, the community that gave me this benefits, I would say, it was the Muslim Brotherhood community.
So this is interesting, and so your parents, one of your parents was a school teacher, the other was an accountant. You're not a rich family, but you're also not a poor family. Other kids who were sort of equally positioned socioeconomically, if they weren't in the Brotherhood, would they not, if they didn't have access to this Brotherhood network, would they not have been able to go on a camping trip, go on a fishing trip, or get some of these other kind of normal youth group experiences that you got to have?
Yeah, it would have been difficult for them to do that, and part of it is that the Muslim Brotherhood is trying to upbring their kids in a way that I wouldn't say exclusive or to separate them from the rest of the society, but it's like a club, So you want to make sure that your kids are around similar or people with similar interests, people with similar beliefs, and this was the case for me. I mean, it's funny, but I didn't know most of the swear words, for example, or any cursing until I was also around 13 or 14 years old. After I left my primary school, the Muslim Brotherhood led school. Yeah,
you were late to profanity because you were in the safe cocoon of the Brotherhood community.
I think so. Yes. And I think most of my brothers, in a way, yeah, they did the same.
And so, until you were 13, you were surrounded by these other members of the Brotherhood. You were at a Brotherhood-run school. You were doing Brotherhood activities, and you were having these weekly usra or family meetings. Did you know that these were Brotherhood things, or were these marketed to you as a kid as this is a Brotherhood school and a Brotherhood meeting, or were these just presented to you as how kids are raised without any sort of branding around the Brotherhood?
Not at all. I did not know at all that all of these were Muslim Brotherhood members, or all of these activities were organized by Muslim Brotherhood members. And when I realized it was full of drama, I read in a book, for example, and actually this was it. I read in a book that Hassan al-Banna founded the Brotherhood, and I realized that I know the name, and it was mentioned to me a couple of times, Hassan al-Banna, and the name of the Ikhwan. I heard it here and there, and the mosque, maybe around the house, and when I started asking questions, actually I was asked to shut up. I was asked to stop talking about these issues, and I remember actually. I tried to speak once to one of my close friends in school, a non-Brotherhood friend, and this was the only interesting story of my life. So I thought that it would be a good idea to mention to him that I am with the Muslim Brotherhood. Yeah, and I got an earful. It was not. It's not a good idea. Now he's an officer in the military. This is a true story.
Wow, that's wild. And so you're going to these weekly meetings. I mean, what are these like Quran study meetings? Or these like Sunday school style, like morality education? Like, what are you learning as a kid, as a, I don't know, 10, 11, 12-year-old at a weekly Usra meeting?
Yeah, it's all of the above, actually. So first, yeah, usually each Usra meeting until I was, I guess, maybe 17 or 18 years old, every Usra meeting includes Quran memorizing, includes Hadith, the sayings of the Prophet, study of the Hadith, and you'll be also just talking about general stuff. I mean, when I was around 12, 13 years old, they started talking about puberty, for example, and how to be a good Muslim teenager, and after that, or around the same time, also, and I think this is really what distinguishes the Muslim Brotherhood from other Islamist organizations or even the rest of the Egyptian society, is that they introduced me very early to politics, but not in the the sense of participating in elections or running for presidency. No, I was introduced to politics as a way to carry the responsibility of the Muslim Ummah, of the nation, of the Muslims. So around 12 years old, 13 years old, I participated in my first protests for Palestine and for Iraq, and I remember the songs.
So this is this during the Intifada of like 2000,
exactly,
2001?
Exactly. Yeah, and the first war, the Iraq war in 2003. Yeah, so around this time, I was introduced to politics this way. So it was very organic, I'd say. It was not pushed as a concept. No, it was like, have you seen the news? Yes. So what do you think about what's going on in Iraq, and what's going on? What do you think about what's going on in Palestine? And we would talk about this, and we get introduced to everything through this, and this is different from other kids outside the Muslim Brotherhood. Even the Salafis, or the mainly the Salafis or other Islamic groups in Egypt, they refrain from talking about politics. And actually, around the time when we were protesting and I remember this very vividly, when we were protesting for against the Israeli war on Lebanon, for example, in 2006, a Salafi guy came out, a long-bearded guy, came out in the mosque, or outside the mosque where we were having the protest, and he started punching people around. He said, "What you are doing is haram. You cannot support Hezbollah in Lebanon. You cannot. They are Shia, and even protesting is haram." And so he means that. Or he means that it's forbidden in Islam. It's prohibited to participate in protests or to support Shia Muslims by protesting or the Israeli attacks on them.
And this is, I mean, and this is a time that when, I mean, the time period you're talking about from 2000 to 2000 and really till 2010, when it takes quite a lot of determination and courage to even participate in a very mild protest that has nothing to do with Egyptian politics, right? In Egypt in that era, if you're going to stand and say something about Gaza or Jerusalem or Israel's war in Lebanon, that or I guess the protests against the U.S. invasion in Iraq were briefly officially tolerated, but in general, these are very brave moves that carry considerable risks. And I guess that reflects a really significant thing about the Brotherhood community, that they were training even their kids to not be afraid to have a public voice at a time when speaking up in public was not just considered haram by this guy you described who was punching people at a protest, but I would say most Egyptians, secular, religious, Christian, Muslim, atheist, would avoid any public speech at all that might trigger official notice and reaction.
Right. This is very accurate. But the one more thing actually to add here is that the Egyptian regimes or Mubarak's regime's response to protests about Palestine or about international or regional issues was much calmer and different from the response to the protests for political reform in Egypt, for example. I mean, in 2004, if I remember correctly, 2003 or 2004. The Muslim Brotherhood started participating in political coalitions in Egypt, and they started forming they started calling for protests in different regions in the country. And in Mansoura, we had a protest in 2004, yes, and the security forces, they attacked the protesters, and it was the first time I see that. I didn't attend the protest myself, but a person, a Muslim Brotherhood member, was killed actually in one of the first protests for political reform in Egypt in 2004, and it was very, very strange for the Muslim Brotherhood to see that. Because usually, for example, a protest for Palestine, you would see the security members or the personnel or the officers and the soldiers standing aside or asking people to keep calm or dispersing the protest by talking to the leaders of the and the place, but not attacking them this way. But when the Brotherhood called for political reforms in Egypt, they started attacking them very harshly, if I'd say. And one of the first deaths among the protests was in Mansoura in 2004. Yeah.
I'm Thanassi Kambanis. I'm talking with Abdelrahman Ayyash, one of the authors of Broken Bonds, The Existential Crisis of Egypt's Muslim Brotherhood, 2013 to 2022. We'll be right back after a short break.
Today's world is changing faster than ever. Old rules don't apply, and the new rules haven't been written. At least not yet. I'm Rohan Advani, and I produce the Order from Ashes podcast at the Century Foundation, a leading progressive think tank that promotes peace, cooperation, and equality at home and abroad. On Order from Ashes, we try to make sense of a new international system in which America no longer dictates the global order. Join us as we talk to activists and analysts on the front lines of the most pressing issues in international policy.
Welcome back. I'm Thanassi Kambanis. I'm talking with Abdelrahman Ayyash, one of the authors of Broken Bonds, The Existential Crisis of Egypt's Muslim Brotherhood, 2013 to 2022. This is Order from Ashes. You can find our podcast and the book, Broken Bonds, on the Century Foundation's website, tcf.org. It's an incredible read. Ayyash has been talking about his childhood as a Brotherhood member and what that was like. And now I want to ask you about what happened to you when you were a teenager. So you said at some point you became aware that this community in which you were cocooned wasn't just happenstance. It was part of an intentional community of brothers. And at some point, you became a blogger. Tell us about what you did, your sort of life as a young blogger, and how that fits into your coming of age story.
Yeah. Actually, I was introduced to the internet also by the Muslim Brotherhood, and it turned out to be a very sad story for me because the one person, a very nice person who introduced me, who created my first email or helped me creating my first email when I was also 14 years old, his name was Abdelhamid Abdel Fattah, and the Egyptian authorities hanged him later in 2019. And it was very bad, and he was tortured into confessions into confessing of something that he never did. And but the thing is that he introduced me to the internet, and I started writing some sort of diaries on the internet. I created a blog in 2006. I called it Al-Gharib, and Al-Gharib means the stranger. and it's not from Albert Camus. It's from the notion, the Islamic notion that the devout Muslims will be very rare in the future. That they will be the strangers of their times. So I created a blog and I called it The Stranger, and I started writing. And actually, one of the first ideas as a blogger for me was to create a coalition, not a coalition, but like a gathering of the Muslim Brotherhood bloggers to introduce the Brotherhood to the Muslim, to the Egyptian community. Actually, it was a very stupid idea, and I stopped thinking about it right after talking to some other bloggers, because it was the first time ever, and this is when I realized that this was the first time ever for us, for the Muslim Brotherhood members, to be heard, or to be to introduce to get the chance to introduce ourselves to the Egyptian community without any prejudice or without any stereotypes. We can tell them who we really are, and by raising the flag of the Muslim Brotherhood first and foremost, it would actually let people apply their stereotypes before even listening to what you have to hear, to what you have to say, and so I stopped this gathering of the Muslim Brotherhood bloggers. But I was part of a movement of bloggers in Egypt.
And you were blogging in Arabic, and if I recall, did you sometimes blog in English as well?
Yeah, I did in around 2009 and 2010. And that was after actually I joined Ikhwan Web, the English website of the Muslim Brotherhood. I did that in 2007, 2008. And I started blogging or writing in English a bit later. But we were talking about everything, and I was part of the blog sphere, or the Egyptian blog sphere. We were talking about politics, we were talking about social norms, we were discussing the Muslim Brotherhood and of course the political reform in Egypt, and because of the dictatorship in Egypt and the equality state. It was the main issue. It was not the Muslim Brotherhood. But as Muslim Brotherhood members, me and some other Brotherhood bloggers, we started also criticizing the Muslim Brotherhood and try to dissect the ideology or the ideas that the Brotherhood is promoting, and also the causes of the group. And the blog sphere or blogging provided me with an enormous access. I remember someone saying to a family member that Abdelrahman Ayyash is now able to talk to the Murshid of the Ikhwan, to the general guide of the Ikhwan, the top leadership of the Ikhwan, by if he tweets or if he posts something, and by just posting on his website or in his blog. And actually, for a Muslim Brotherhood member in my rank to talk to the general guide, I need to go through like 20 members just to talk to the general guide. We were talking to them, and actually they were responding to us. They were responding to our criticism. They were responding to what we had to say about the group structure, about the treatment of women and Copts, for example, or the treatment of youth inside the movement. And
So on the one hand, you came through this sort of acculturation process through your whole childhood, and on the other hand, here you are as a teenager, presumably irritating some of the senior members of this organization by writing your own opinions in public on the internet for the whole world to see, and questioning the wisdom and decision makings of the elderly general guides and decision making council that led the Brotherhood. So what kind of friction or tension or blowback did this create for you when you started questioning and criticizing decisions like the Brotherhood's official policy, to insist that the president of Egypt could only be a Muslim, or taking other positions that seemed to be at odds with your view of pluralism and tolerance in Egypt?
I was alienated, I have to say. I mean, inside the Muslim Brotherhood, it's not easy to criticize the movement or criticize the leadership. It's one of the main pillars the Muslim Brotherhood is built upon is what we call sam'a wa ta'a, is to obey, to listen and to obey, and this. Just by criticizing the movement or criticizing some decisions or some leaders, you would be effectively breaching this, pillar or breaching this oath that some take. That you will be listening and obeying the leadership of the Muslim Brotherhood. So it was not easy, especially at first, and especially around the local circles in Mansoura, because after traveling to Cairo and after meeting in person the leadership of the Muslim Brotherhood or with other also circles in the capital, it feels much more normal, if I would say, to discuss the bigger issues. But for us teenagers in Mansoura, I was asked a lot of, or I was asked many times, why are you concerned with all these issues? I mean, you are here, we are here, we live here. And the same happened actually when I started blogging in English. People started to tell me, who do you want to address by this? I got many criticism, or many people asked me to stop writing about the Muslim Brotherhood because I'm putting the whole movement in danger by doing so. So, but I have also to say that a very few number of people inside the Muslim Brotherhood, or very few Muslim Brotherhood members, they tried to really listen to what we had to say, and actually they encouraged us to do so. And I think that at some point, without the insights of such people who had higher ranks inside the Muslim Brotherhood or who had higher positions inside the movement, I think many of the Muslim Brotherhood bloggers wouldn't have made it, wouldn't have gotten the reality of the movement. Because when we were posting about the movement, we needed information, and the available information that comes through the official channels, it was manipulated.
So you describe a sort of remarkable meeting between Mohamed Morsi, the future president of Egypt, when he was still just a senior Brotherhood official, and a group of young bloggers. Tell us when that happened and what happened at that session, because I think it presages a lot of what unfolds in your later work and study.
Yeah, of course. The meeting with Dr. Morsi, it happened in 2007, in October 2007, actually, and it was just a few weeks after the Muslim Brotherhood released their platform. Morsi was the head of the political affairs inside the Muslim Brotherhood. He was the guidance bureau member, or the highest ranking member inside the Muslim Brotherhood, who is overseeing politics in the organization. And Dr. Morsi and his team, they produced a party platform for the Muslim Brotherhood. Of course, the Egyptian regime, or Mubarak's regime, was never to allow the Muslim Brotherhood to create a political party.
This was a very polarizing move by the Brotherhood to publish a political blueprint at a time when it was an illegal underground organization with no official political wing. So why did he invite a group of young critics from within his own organization to come and meet with him?
Yeah, because at some point, everything I posted on my blog, newspapers was taking it and spreading it and publishing what I said personally, and many others. And I wasn't the most famous. Actually, I was not at all the most famous Muslim Brotherhood blogger. I was maybe one of 10 or 20 people who are writing and who were who were being heard somehow at the time. But I don't know why the chief of staff or the secretary of Dr. Morsi at the time, he reached out to me and he asked that Dr. Morsi wants to meet all of us to convince us or to just to listen to your to our concerns and to our criticism. And of course, I was very happy to do so. Some others refused or rejected the invitation. But yeah, we went there, and actually it was not a good meeting. I have to say. Yeah, I mean, we started off by Dr. Morsi talking for like an hour or something like that about general notions about Islam in general, about the Muslim Brotherhood as an idea, as a group. And he did not touch upon what we had, what we came here to discuss.
This wasn't the opening move of someone who actually wanted to hear your criticism. This was a lecture from the person you had criticized.
Yeah, you know, we were like, I don't know, maybe 15 people. Two of us were women, and one of the women actually left after like 30 minutes of Dr. Morsi talking. Later, she ended up working with him in the presidency. That's another story. But the thing is that, yeah, I mean, we didn't like what he was saying, and actually, after all, he said that if you don't like what we are here, what we are providing or what we are offering, yeah, you have the space to leave and create your own group or create your own or work for Islam or work for Egypt as much as you want, but outside the Muslim Brotherhood.
So and he said like it or leave it.
Exactly, and I think all members of the Muslim Brotherhood who attended this meeting, maybe all but one, are out of the group right now, are out of the Muslim Brotherhood.
So that interaction started you thinking about walking away from this community.
Right. I was thinking about a lot of problems with the movement or with the ideology Brotherhood, but I thought that the only way to solve these problems is to work from within the movement. But when I saw the leadership represented by Dr. Morsi talking about these ideas or about or not being able actually to self-criticize at all, yeah, I thought that no, it won't be. There won't be we will not be able to do anything inside the movement. And that personally I have to leave. But I have to say something here, that I didn't decide to leave the Muslim Brotherhood, or I didn't officially leave the Muslim Brotherhood until we had a real opening in Egypt. Because actually, at the time, in 2007 or 2008, if I left the Muslim Brotherhood, I will be nowhere. I mean, yeah, there were some groups like April 6th movement, for example, or some political parties, but all of them were very far from most of the Egyptian people.
So when you say you would be nowhere, you mean you would have no other place to have a political voice or a political outlet? Exactly.
The Muslim Brotherhood provided a political voice and a political outlet and a community, and I cannot stress the community enough. It was very important for me personally to still be around these people or the people that I share ideas and I share childhood with them. Yeah, and but after the revolution, this changed.
So you left the organization in 2010 on the eve of the revolution, and what followed was a very quick period of transformation, change, and then authoritarian relapse, right? A popular uprising, a revolutionary year, then the very same Mohamed Morsi, who was not interested in talking to his internal critics, became briefly an ineffectual and failed president of Egypt, and then he was overthrown in a coup in the summer of 2013, followed by one of the deadliest one-day massacres in Egyptian history on August 13th, 2013 at Rabaa Square, where about 1,000 Brotherhood supporters were killed in one day. So what happened to you, and how did you end up as what you are today, which is a researcher and an author of a new book and a sort of well-regarded think tank and academic young thinker?
Yeah, so after the revolution, actually, I started, although I studied computer engineering in Egypt, the revolution, made me realize that, I can do other things too. So with the revolution, I started working as a journalist. I started working as a fixer with foreign journalists in Egypt as a translator as well. And it introduced me to the Egyptian society in another way. And I started knowing more about Egypt that I never did before. And with the revolution, I started also to travel around, and at some point, I thought that we will be able to even give our revolutionary wisdom to other countries, like I don't know, Yemen, for example, or Libya. Yeah, and after that, and I went actually to work for some humanitarian organizations on the Turkish-Syrian borders around 2012 and 2013, and that's where I ended up being. After the military coup, I was so afraid to go back to Egypt. Many of my friends died on Rabaa, and the 14th of August, it was I think it was the worst day of my life. It's many people died, and nobody seemed to care. And I'm talking only about Egypt. I'm talking about the international community, and I think it's important also to note here that this kind of victimhood is what keeps the Muslim Brotherhood alive, or is one of the things that keeps the Muslim Brotherhood alive. That they are going through a lot. Anyways, I left Egypt in July 2013, just one day after the military coup, to work in this humanitarian organization, or for this humanitarian organization in Turkey. And after a few months, I realized that I will not be able to work also on the Turkish-Syrian borders, especially after the emergence of ISIS. So I started this website in Istanbul. It was a news website. We started it off with some friends. So after that, I started writing about, of course, other issues, not only Egyptian issues, but also issues about Turkey, about the Middle East. And the Muslim Brotherhood has been the dear issue to my heart, or an issue very dear to my heart. It's not only because I know the group, but because I really believe that in this region of the world, a political party that is having Islam as part of its program, or as part of its core indoctrination, it has to have a place in the political space in our region, whether in Egypt, whether in other countries. And of course, the polls and the votes are good indicators for that. So I believe that writing about the Muslim Brotherhood, it's not only beneficial for the outer world to understand the group, but it also could benefit the movement to correct its mistakes, to reform itself from within. Maybe they will be able to, I don't know, to be in a better shape, to do some good stuff for the community and for the countries they are in. I don't know.
I'm Thanasi Kambanis. You're listening to Abdelrahman Ayyash, one of the authors of Broken Bonds, the Muslim Brotherhood, Egypt's Muslim Brotherhood from 2013 to 2021, a new book that's available for order on the Century Foundation's website. And we're going to wrap up this episode of Broken Bonds, and you can stay tuned. On the next episode, we'll be coming back to Ayyash and his two co-authors and hearing their take on what came next, what happened to the Brotherhood after the military coup in 2013, and why we should care. about the crises that organization has undergone in the decade since the coup that overthrew Morsi. Ayyash, thanks so much for coming on the podcast today.
Thank you. Thank you, Thanasi.
You're listening to Order from Ashes, Century International's podcast, and this is a special series called Broken Bonds, the Existential Crisis of Egypt's Muslim Brotherhood, 2013 to 2022. This was the first of 5 episodes. We heard from Abdelrahman Ayyash about his personal trajectory from a Brotherhood childhood to his current life as a researcher in exile. And on the next episode, we'll be hearing from Ayyash, along with his co-authors, Amr El-Afifi and Noha Zat, about the triple crisis facing the Brotherhood and why we should care. Thanks for listening. Until next time. The Order from Ashes podcast has been brought to you by Century International. Our work builds on more than 100 years of commitment to international peace, security, and governance at the Century Foundation. We are independent, critical, and progressive. For more information about Century International's work, please visit tcf.org or follow us on Twitter and Facebook. We depend on audience feedback to reach new listeners. If you like what you hear, please leave a review wherever you get your podcasts.